Before we get into the video, make sure you check out the YouTube channel Malik Snaps down below. The link will be in the description down below. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. He makes a lot of good videos as well. Let us get into the video.
Do you think white privilege is real?
Yes.
Yes, it definitely is real.
I think you get a lot for just being white in society. I think it's unfair.
What is white privilege?
Society is structured. It's just about white people. We learn about European history as the start of all history.
What is white privilege?
The privilege to do things in life based on the color of your skin.
White people just have a lot more opportunities that are given to them because of their skin color, and it's much harder for black people to get the same opportunities.
Society is just made for white people, like in the way it is now.
Why would you say that?
It really starts with the transatlantic slave trade. Like, it was made so that you could justify slavery by saying, you guys are black, you're not white, you're not like us, basically. And when you raise a society like that and don't do anything to change it, you kind of see how the structures fall in place, kind of come back to that idea.
It's absolutely sad that this is the idea that a lot of black people go into college with. They've unfortunately been conditioned to believe that they are oppressed, white people are privileged, and they can't get any further in life unless they work 10 times harder than a white person. That's just sad to go through life thinking that. A lot of these college students who are speaking right now have possibly never in their life ever even faced any type of racism, but here they are talking about it because they've been conditioned to believe that that's the case, that there is racism everywhere. And I'm here to tell you that's an absolute lie.
Privilege is more historical than now. It's generational, I think, because white people over generations have had, better income, things like that. There's also slavery and things like that that play into it. I think it's more generational. So I think black people or people of color just need like a bit more time in terms of generational comeback, I would say, to even themselves out with white people.
Black people were marginalized for centuries upon centuries, and then all of a sudden, one day you're just told you're free, and you're given free reign to do whatever you want. You do not know what to do, how to make it, or how to go from one place of being, poor and impoverished to becoming rich, as opposed to, that of a white person who has had, help.
White people just easily have more resources than black people
Why?
because they are taken as the better race.
Historically, we've been kept in neighborhoods that have less money because of things like redlining, stuff like that. It's just an unequal playing field. White people have been able to generate wealth for so many generations. It's just, I feel like it's a fallacy to say that it's equal starting points.
I had to do bios yesterday.
Newsflash for you, no one in life has an equal starting point. How do you get people to get at an equal starting point? What's the process of doing that? No human being on this earth starts off equal. Some people start off better than others and some worse off than others. Some black people start better off than yourself. People like LeBron James' son, who is black, will start off better than other white people. So no one in this world starts off equal. And the irony of this video is these people are in college talking about oppression.
For my job on LinkedIn, the black man, he had his bios, like he had everything laid out, all the information about him, and the white man, I had to actually go search high and low for information about him. And I feel like black people just take the extra step, especially because we feel like we have to show, have something to prove. White people don't have anything to prove. They're just already on a level.
Why do you think that is?
Society just makes there's a stigma around black people, I would say, and just the way the hierarchy is in the world and the history of America, slavery, that's,
Do you have any examples of white privilege?
I think job opportunities. I think you get a lot more job opportunities, you get a lot more looks. Just being white.
Being that you can get into schools that other black students probably can't or don't have the resources to be able to get into those type of schools.
It was always them getting the good education and black people being redlined in certain communities, so they weren't able to get the same opportunities. A black person or a person of color would have to work 2 times as hard to get that same opportunity just because we're put in a certain box.
I tend to be a lot more fearful around white neighborhoods and stuff like that, just because of my skin color and stuff.
What are you fearful of?
My life.
They take for granted the things that they have, things like being able to not fear police.
So if you tell them you're African, they're going to call you an African booty scratcher. They're going to say your hair looks like a dog's hair. They're going to say that you're unique because you look different.
Any modern day examples About white privilege?
The fact that black women in the medical industry, like when black women are pregnant and they're like in the delivery, like, you know, when they're in delivery rooms, they're often taken less serious because of the idea that black people have like a higher pain tolerance. It's generally like, oh, that woman, she'll be fine. She's just, you know, it's just normal things.
Black people.
I'm really trying to figure out where they hear all this rubbish from because I've not come across it. And trust me, I have experienced racism. A lot of these college students who are talking about racism and, oh, we're oppressed and white privilege, blah, 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 possibly have never even really experienced or faced any type of racism in their life. They just go around with a ghost around them talking about the ghost of racism that really isn't there. It's all propaganda that they've bought into, and it's absolutely sad that they walk around being victims. White people are also oppressed in America, but as I say in other videos, they never seem to want to talk about that. It's only black people they want to talk about.
People's biggest oppressors themselves.
I think it's 70% mental oppression that we're under currently, and maybe 30% factorial or financial oppression.
Oppression comes from our mind now, as opposed to what society is giving us.
Black people still have the mindset that they're behind or oppressed, so that's why they haven't gotten where they're supposed to be at this point, you know?
What would you do if you were like white for a day?
I don't think I would want to be white for a day. I'm very proud to be black.
Why?
Our culture is just so rich in every diaspora.
And what would you do if you were white for a day?
I'd probably say the N-word.
What do you have to say to the people that say more black people get arrested because they commit majority of the crimes?
White people are the ones that kill majority of the people, that fight for the guns and fight for the wrong laws.
People who shoot up schools are white. I've never really seen a black shooter shoot up schools.
You have to look at the population size. There are way, 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 way more white people in this country than there are black people. So if black people are getting arrested more, you may see that black people are getting arrested more, but it's like when you look at the actual numbers, you see that white people are actually getting arrested more. It just looks like it's more black people because there are less black people.
That was absolute gibberish from the few students who just spoke in those few minutes. He asked them, what do they say about the people who say that blacks just commit more crimes? And they didn't even answer the question. One of them went on to say, well, you see all the school shooters, they're white. That's the unfortunate thing about the black community. They don't even want to address the black on black crime that goes on. It's always, oh, white privilege, but they don't want to address when black people are killing other black people, which is very convenient.
There are white people. So they're not getting arrested more. You're just seeing it more. So you're seeing more black people getting arrested than you are seeing the white people.
But if I'm white, I'm going to do whatever I want because I'm not going to have the same consequences, and I'm most likely going to get out of whatever I do.
And what do you have to say to the people that say the black community commits most of the crime, that's why they're most likely to be arrested?
That is true, right? But you have to look into more history. As I said,
no way.
There were things set up such as redlining and Section 8, all kinds of things set up.
Lots of black people weren't even able to own homes in certain neighborhoods until the 1970s, which is crazy because in America, you need a house to have like money. Like that's your main source of income for a lot of people.
It's not just because black people are belligerent and angry. And, you know, there was a lot of historical things that played into it, which I think, as I said, as generations unfold, it'll unfold into us being more or less violent.
Most of the crimes are committed by black people. That's why most of them are getting arrested.
Poverty is the main cause of crime, no matter what way you want to flip it. And when you have people who have historically been underprivileged and who live in poor neighborhoods, it's going to make sense why more crimes happen. If you can't afford to eat, you're going to steal food. It makes the most sense to me.
Yes, people, you heard that correctly. If you're poor, it makes sense that you steal food, and that's the reason you commit crimes. Not that, you should take accountability for your actions and then try and get out of the poverty that you're in, and also take accountability that, being a thief is a crime and that's a bad thing and you shouldn't do that. Not excuse the behavior due to the situations that they're in, because we all know if a poor person came into his property and stole and told him, I just have to steal because I'm poor, I'm sure he wouldn't say, well, that's fine, you can take everything you want from my property.
Not necessarily a black person committing a crime because of, them wanting to do it, but more so because of that's the life that they were dealt, the cards that they were dealt.
A lot of these people, they're around people who think that that is the right way, like to commit crime to get ahead, to commit crime to get by. So if you're around a group of people, a community of people who think that crime is the right way, your mind is conditioned to be in crime and think that crime is the right way. So it's not necessarily that they're just committing crime. It's a cycle of conditioning, mental conditioning. So the mental conditioning needs to be changed in order for the crime to change.
I think that cops are low-key trained to like go after the black people. They're in their neighborhoods way more than they are other neighborhoods. So they're gonna be like looking out just because your skin color. You're gonna get pulled over by the cops more often. You're gonna get put in jail more often, even if you didn't do anything.
Republicans are crime starters
Why?
because they really want the Second Amendment and they really just want crime and they want bad things to happen. You don't want abortions to happen, so you want unsafe abortions to happen. You want guns, you want to kill people. Like
I am absolutely baffled that these people are in college, but then at the same time, I'm not baffled as well, because at this point, it's expected that these are the answers that we would get from questions like this. And it's absolutely sad that these people walk around claiming that they're oppressed while they're in college, while they have clothes, while they have food. And to be honest, of course, people with this mindset will always think they're oppressed because they have the weakest mindset you can ever have. A mindset of oppression, a mindset of everyone is against you and you can't do anything, or you have to work 10 billion times harder than the white person. And I'll just leave you guys with this. Asians perform better than white people. Do we talk about Asian privilege? No, we don't. But anyway, that was another video, another reaction. As I usually say, if you guys enjoyed the video, like the video as much as possible, comment down below, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at YinkaThatGuy, and I am out.